Hey, y'all, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Bratz, and I am back with Amanda Holbrook. Sorry.
I don't know if you just went
I don't
Canadian
I
on
don't
me
know
or
why I
what.
would say Brook. I don't know.
Brooke? I don't
All
even know what
right.
accent that would be. All right, let's try that again.
Hi, I'm Tim Bratz, and every week I sit down with the top influential entrepreneurs in the country to discuss how to leave a true legacy in all things happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom. This is the Legacy Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. I am your host, Tim Bratz, and I'm back with Amanda Holbrook, my good friend from Specialized Trust Company. And over the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about self-directed accounts, self-directed Roth IRAs. Last week was the first week. Last week, we got into self-directed health savings accounts and covered educational savings accounts. And this week, we're going to be diving into small business plans, ways to really contribute a lot into retirement accounts for your small business and grow these accounts pretty dramatically in a relatively short amount of time. So, and all the details that come with that. So, Amanda, welcome back.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. This one I'm very excited about because our group has so many entrepreneurs and budding entrepreneurs and with a multitude of businesses, et cetera. So these are what I call the deeper buckets, if you will. So this should be a good action-packed one today.
So, give us a high level. Let's talk about what these accounts are. Are they tax? Are they after tax or pre-tax accounts? Do they grow tax free? Give us an example of the ones that we can grow. Who ideally would benefit in these situations, and let's dive into it
Sure.
granularly of what that looks like.
Sure. Okay. So I hear this all the time. Amanda, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I don't have retirement. You can have retirement just because you're not in corporate doesn't mean that you can't have retirement. And what I mean by that is all those years that you didn't take advantage, you gave more of your profit away to Uncle Sam than paying yourself. And that's what we want to help you to do. Okay. So get that out of your head if that's your mindset of, hey, I'm self-employed. I don't need to do all of this. I'm not big corporate 401k. Yes, you can have a type of plan and it's cost effective. All right. So we've got that one check. Here's the other question. I'm going to attack it like this. Okay. If your profile A, B, or C, this is the type of plan you need. Okay. Because this will just break it down. I mean, as easy as one, two, three. Okay. So if you are self-employed and you have an LLC, S Corp, or a sole proprietorship, even, okay, we got to get an EIN, and there's no W-2 employees other than you and or your spouse or your business partner if you're a partnership, okay? All right. It's called a Roth Solo 401k. All right. That is the plan for you. Okay. If you have part-time W-2 employees, you're still okay for the solo K. However, the year you get a full-time W-2 employee in California, they're sticklers on this. They've gotten more sticklers on 1099 versus W-2 guys. Now you're going to pivot to option B. It's called a SEP IRA, stands for self-employed pension. Okay. A SEP IRA is, again, it has a Roth component. All of these I'm talking about do. But if you are, again, LLC, S Corp, sole proprietor, with W-2 employees under 3 years, that is important. Under 3 years, you want a SEP IRA. Okay.
You've been in business under 3 years, or you had employees for under three
W-2
years?
employees under 3 years.
Okay.
The year you go, you have a W-2 loyal employee that hits their anniversary of year 4, you are pivoting to a simple IRA. Okay. And again, same structure, but you have W-2 employees. Simples can actually go all the way up to under 100 employees. Okay.
Okay.
And it's much more cost effective than like your standard 401k. I find a lot of payroll companies, once you scale to that size, they try to push their 401k on you. And your options are very limited and it's very expensive to do.
Mm-hmm.
The simple
It's really
IRA.
expensive, right? Like
Yes.
and I'm not a believer in 401ks, right? I think if you're going to pay taxes, right? I understand there's a benefit of it being taxed or Yeah, it's tax deferred, right? So you get a deduction this year, but then it grows tax deferred, and then you pay taxes in the future. But guess what? In the future, I think the tax rate's going to go up, and
Hmm.
hopefully you're making more money in the future than you are today.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why even like offer that if it's not a good, I mean, it's better than nothing, right? But at the same time, if you can move it over into more of a Roth component, like in like a SEP or Simple, like that's 100% the way that we should be going.
Absolutely. So each of those that I listed, okay, and I'll go on the solo K in more detail, but your total SEP contribution, which is 25% of your net up to 72,026, and then your whole simple contribution, which is right up to 17 this year, and you get an extra 4K for catch up. Okay.
At
You
what
can
age?
at 50, age
At
50.
50 years old?
Mhm. You get an extra 4K. You can decide you want it to grow tax deferred or tax free. So each of them now, since the Secure Act 2.0, have a Roth component. So we were talking about, if you guys tuned into the Roth episode, the mega backdoor Roth. You
Here's the link.
Yeah, right. You could do that inside these plans, but now you don't even need, I always hated the word backdoor. I always like to call it the two-step. I thought it sounded nicer and fancier. But
Less
you can,
smutty.
yeah, that's one adjective. Um, but you can move it right on over to that Roth side. To your point, why kick the darn can when you can get it growing tax free? So all of those cool strategies we talk about, you can do in all of these plans. But that's huge. You don't even have to do the two-step. You can just say, hey, look, I had enough depreciation or carry forward over here. I don't have a taxability like this year, but I've got the funds to put into the plan. Can I just put it in after tax? Why, yes, you can. And it doesn't matter how much money you're making as far as like income. There's no limit.
So in a SEP and with a Simple, are these accounts that must be offered to the employees too, right?
yes. So a
So
SEP
everybody's got
IRA,
access to it.
yeah. So a SEP IRA, and this is the reason I have you pivot, Tim. So the 3-year rule is crucial because SEP is, yes, it's 25% of your net. Okay. Which can go up to 72K, which is a nice chunk,
Yeah, it's a
right?
big chunk.
Yeah. But if you have a W-2 employee that is earning a high earner, what you do for yourself, you have to do for them. And it is an employer only contributed account. So if you're putting in 25K for yourself, oh yeah. I mean, is your heart and wallet big enough you want to put in 25% for them as well?
Mm.
But you still want to offer the benefit, right? We're not quite a Scrooge or Grinch, right? That's where you
And
pivot to the simple.
that's in a SEP, right?
Yes, because a SEP is mandatory. You have to participate. The employee does not have an option to opt out.
Mm. What
So,
about a Simple?
so a simple they do. So a simple, the employer match, okay, it's based on the contribution of the employee, which again is 17K, and it's anywhere between 1 to 3%, or it can even go up to 4% if you have under 25 employees.
Of total gross income?
No, of their contribution amount. So
Okay.
it's
So if an
a couple hundred
employee
bucks.
makes enough and they want to contribute 17 grand, which is the most an employee could, I mean, anybody can contribute as
Right.
most in a Simple is $17,000. So on $17,000, if
Mhm.
you want to offer it as an employer, the
Mhm.
employer has to do some sort of a match, but it could be as little as 1%, which is $170 a year, or 3%, which is around $510, right?
Yes, that's exactly it. And here's the other cool part. They can opt out, which sadly, I see a lot of folks opting out because I do these presentations for smaller companies all the time and we make them do a little sign-in sheet. Yes, I want to participate. No, I don't. The other cool part is like, think of and you're in real estate as your company. So your team would absolutely self-direct. I know your team, they absolutely would. But think of like a dental office. You have your receptionist at the front, or your medical biller. They probably aren't going to be self-directing just yet. They may just want
Mm-hmm.
like, I just want the S&P 500 and call it a day. You can park your simple IRA. You can have yours as the owner here at Specialized, and they can park theirs somewhere else where it's just a straight brokerage.
So it's not all in one account where it
Yeah.
all has to do the same thing. everybody can have their own accounts, and obviously it it shows what their balance is, what their contributions were, all that stuff. But you have the opportunity also to pull it all together. Like my team, we're all in real estate, and
Mhm.
I don't know, 40 people on payroll, I'll call it.
Mhm.
Um, if we all wanted to say, hey, anybody who wants to opt in, we're going to go and buy this apartment complex with our simple IRAs. Everybody could do that, and we can go buy that, and that could grow tax free, right? In
Yeah.
that capacity.
Absolutely. And what you just listed there, I want you listening up, entrepreneurs. He just painted a total like full benefits package just with an entrepreneurial creative mindset. Because now you're giving your team the opportunity to co-invest along with you and grow with you in your firm.
Yeah, I
I
love
mean,
that.
that's just like when a large company offers stock options, but think of this more creatively, and this could be used, it does not just for real estate. I mean, this could be used for any structure, but that's huge. And then they have the option to, again, opt in, opt out. And the cool part for all of these, they're not expensive to do. And you get a tax credit for establishing them since they passed the Secure Act
What does
2.0.
that look like?
So it taps out at 5K, but I mean, these plans aren't that expensive. Your average plan, like even if you're just starting a solo K, because it has the TPA and everything, is right around 2 grand.
Yeah.
And it ends up being a wash. And if you're rolling over funds, you can even pay for that outside of it, like from within the account.
When
Um,
you say tax credit, is that a deduction on your taxes further, or that's a
It's
reimbursement
a
from the
it's a
government?
real credit. Yeah, no, it's a real credit. So this goes kind of my statement from our last talk. Why would the government do that? They are incentivizing small business owners to save for their own retirement.
Hmm.
That is crucial, that they took away all of these benefits in 18 and they're giving this one back for a reason because of that thing I just said at the beginning. Well, I've been self-employed my whole life. I never had a retirement account. There's a lot of, and I don't want to use like a buzzword, like boomers, that have, their businesses and they're getting ready to sell, et cetera, but they never had the retirement plan because they were self-employed.
This episode of the Legacy Podcast is brought to you by Smart Management Property Management Software. If you own rentals or operate a real estate business, you don't need more deals. You need more clarity. Most operators are leaving money on the table, not because the asset is bad, but because the operations are loose. Rents, expenses, payroll, maintenance, it's all spread across systems, spreadsheets, and inboxes. Smart Management brings that together in one place. It gives you real-time visibility into your cash flow and operations so you can tighten up what's already working. When you see the leaks, you fix them. And that's how you make more money on the properties you already own. No guesswork, no waiting on reports, just cleaner data and better decisions. If you want to run a tighter operation and pull more profit out of your existing portfolio, check out Smart Management. Links in the description. Now, back to the episode.
Are there limitations in the self-dealing like there is with Roth IRAs, like in smart management, right? Like we expect to have north of 100 employees over the next 5 or around, let's call it 100 employees since that's the cap in the next 5 years. Can they invest into a simple that then owns stock in smart management?
Yeah, they could.
Even though
The
we're
employees aren't.
controlling aspects and we're employees and we are the decision makers in that.
Yeah, I mean, the only ones that couldn't would be like the decision makers. I
So
think it's
like I
very
I
clear.
couldn't.
Correct.
Got it.
That would be
But
self-dealing, but your employees could, because you're not disqualified unless you hired your kids, they would be,
and
disqualified.
and
But
or that so that could, it seems like that could also be the contribution,
mhm.
eh, maybe from the business owner's perspective of saying, hey, you put 17.5 into your account, I'll get you 3% or equivalent in stock or something along those lines if you're investing in I don't know. Well, I'm sure there's some stuff we can go into that on that, but
Yeah,
um,
there's definitely some creativity to be had, but I think the
yeah.
simple is probably the one that is most overlooked. But, as you're scaling your company, you were just focusing so much on your business, like in your business versus on it, that this gets looked over. And then when it comes time to set it up, it's usually you're against a tax deadline, so it's like holy stress, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I want to talk about these buckets ahead of time, because you can put a ton more in them. Let's talk the solo 401k. You hear me say it's the triple threat of retirement accounts, right? Okay, so for those of you that even have like a side hustle company, all right, you're not where, Tim's at with a multitude of W-2 employees, right? Hey, it's just me, or it's just me and my wife. And maybe you have a 401k at your W-2 job. Can you have a solo 401k if you have a side hustle? Absolutely, you can. This is how you keep more money in your pocket. There's
So somebody who's got a full-time job and then they're just buying real estate on their own, in an LLC or something like that right now, and they own 100% of it. They don't have any employees. It's just kind of like this long-term wealth plan. This would be ideal for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, especially like think of like if you flipped a couple a year, cap gain sucks. There's an easy way to offset it. You could do 25% of your net up to, I think it's 47.5 next year. And it's 46.5 for 25. And the reason I'm telling you this, guys, is for all of these plans, you have until tax filing deadline plus extensions to get your contributions in. So even if you're like hearing this and you're thinking like, well, wish guys would have done this a couple months ago, like, you don't have to worry about it, because you can still set up plans for last year and put in funds for last year to offset your taxes. And you have until the fall, if you're on the extension bus, like most entrepreneurs are, to put your contributions in. But it's
for 2025. And that's not the same for the personal accounts, though, the CISAs and the HSAs and
all
the
those
IRAs.
personal ones. Yeah, those are April 15th. Door is like
still
shut.
I mean, the beauty of it is you still have that capacity and the ability to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the two big strengths, okay, because yes, you have tax-free profits in the solo K. So you can do up to 24.5, add 8,000 to that if you're over 50. This is a weird one, Tim. They just started this like 2 years ago. If you're between the ages of 60 and 63, you get what's called the super catch-up. I know, creative time, or name, 11,250 is how much they can do for their catch-up. I don't know why it's just that age gap. There must be a very big spike in the population is what I'm guessing. But anyway, you put a lot into it. But here's what I see from entrepreneurs a lot. Hey, Amanda, I've got this solo K or this LLC. We're doing a couple flips now. I have this old 401k. Really need some capital right now. Your retirement stuff's great. I need some cash flow today. What they'll do is they'll roll that over into the 401k, and you can borrow against a 401k. You cannot borrow against a SEP, a SIMPLE, or any other IRA. 401k is the only one. And it's 50% or 50,000, whatever's first. And then you pay yourself back with interest right to the 401k plan over a 5-year period. So it's today money, right? You just basically, it's arbitraging, guys. You have usually your HELOCs, your PLOCs, your BLOCs. You make that list if you're doing an acquisition strategy. This takes the number one slot because you're paying yourself back with interest. So if you need some cash flow today, albeit I know it's 50K. So if you have 100K in your account, you could do 50. It's a Department of Labor rule, guys. It's not, oh, Amanda's so mean. She's cutting us off the knees, 50K. What am I going to do with that? California people are like, what is she talking about? That's not going to get me far, but Department of Labor sets that limit. It's something, right? It's a piece of it. The other part, I mean, do we all love leveraging that's listening to this podcast, or do we
most
all love
most of us do?
Yeah, most of us. A little OPM action, just a little bit. Yeah. Well, you can leverage retirement accounts, yes, but the IRS hits you with this thing called UBIT tax on the leveraged portion in an IRA. UBIT, just think of UBIT, the big one. Unrelated business income tax is really what it stands for, but it's a 37% tax you don't want to fall into. So just think UBIT, like you bid it, don't bite it. Just do it in a 401k. No UBIT tax. So you can leverage till the cows come home. You can do single family, multifamily, syndications, BRRRRs, creative, like seller financing, wraps, all of that fun stuff. It's just that loan has to be asset-based, no personal guarantees. So
talk a little bit about the asset protection component of things. Are
Sure.
these accounts free from creditors like other retirement accounts can be?
Yes. So they follow the same rules as far as creditors, right? I always say the two D's, death and divorce, right? Are when these come into play. If you go ahead and claim bankruptcy, they can't come touch any of this, any of
What
these
about
types of accounts.
Roth IRAs? Can they touch those?
They can't touch Roth IRAs either. Like those are safe from creditors.
Okay.
IRAs and 401ks alike are safe from creditors. It's the same thing. And I had an attorney one time call this the OJ rule. I don't think that's really a thing. Um, so,
That's fine.
basically like if you can go commit crime, but your retirement accounts are safe. But where the difference does come in is if you committed a prohibited transaction. So, meaning, say you accidentally self-dealt to yourself, you accidentally lent to yourself, or you did a transaction with a family member up and down the family tree, and you're like, uh-oh, oopsie, how do I fix that? When it comes time, or if you intentionally did it, because there are those that aren't always truthful, in an IRA, they can come after the whole account. In a 401k, they can just come after the asset. Additional layers of asset protection really
Interesting.
just come down to deal structure. Can an IRA or 401k own an LLC? Yes. For additional asset protection, pun intended. Can you take on additional insurances depending on your asset class? Sure. You can get umbrella policies, all that jazz. So there are absolutely different layers to it that will protect yourself. And I think the ultimate one too, your beneficiaries. You know, um, all of these accounts, guys, have beneficiaries listed on them, meaning primary and contingent. So, not to use technical terms, but if you kick the bucket, where does your money go?
Hmm.
So one is, and I hear this because we have specialized trust in our name. We don't do revocable trusts. That is just the license we have, just so you know.
Yeah, right.
Before I get the question. I get that one a lot. But who do I list as my primary beneficiary? So if you're married, you always list your spouse first. Your spouse is the only person on the planet that can assume the account as their own versus it being forced to become an inherited account. As they
Mm,
changed the rules a couple years back, once it becomes an inherited IRA, do you remember how many years they have, Tim?
10.
10 years. Yep. 10 years you have to distribute that account. But if it's a spouse, the spouse has the opportunity to say, hey, I'm just going to put this in my name. And now they don't have that distribution rule, period, which is great. And then if you have one of those trusts, or if you have kids, you list them as the beneficiary and the contingent side, so just to make sure.
After one of the spouses already passed. So it would be like a
Correct.
secondary beneficiary
Correct. Yeah.
if both
So
spouses are still alive.
yeah, if there was, heaven forbid a plane crash or you both got hit by a bus, it goes down to the children.
Hmm.
And you can do, percentages. They have to be an even amount, no 33.33. If you have 3 kids, use that 1% as leverage for them to,
Yeah.
treat you better while you're still alive.
Who wants it? I can be bought. I can be bought, kids. Who wants to
Right?
earn
I
it?
mean, I'm all about it.
Hey, so let's close out with this. Peter Thiel has a $5 billion Roth IRA.
Yes.
He essentially uses IRA to invest in different businesses early on that then went public and had big wins, including companies like PayPal and several different companies, right?
Correct.
He was not actively involved in those companies, which is why he was able to then go and invest. Is that the case? Or is it because even though he was, maybe he was an advisor or something along those lines in some of these companies, but his Roth IRA and he had minimal equity in it. What are the compliance pieces around utilizing a self-directed account in a business that you have control in or have some sort of limited equity in personally?
Sure. So, I mean, first off, you always want to sit down with an attorney, when you're doing any of these types of structures, but to my understanding, how he was to do the PayPal deal, because that's by far the biggest.
That was a big, yeah.
Yeah, that was the biggest of them all. Was he classified as a C Corp and bought shares, was how that was done. That's where you see this a lot in the franchise world. They call them Rob's plans. I'm not a huge fan of. but it kind of falls under those same rules. So he bought shares of the C Corp in his Roth. So then when it was sold, all of his shares, and this was a private company, guys, right? It's not like something that has a ticker symbol next to it or it's going IPO. This is a privatized company. So, and it's the same way if you have an opportunity to become an investor in a company. They may be classified as a C Corp or they may be classified as an LLC to where you're going to have a percentage of ownership, or they have class A, B, C shares. You can own those in the name of, specialized trust company custodian for benefit of your Roth IRA. And then when those dividends are paying out, guess what? They all go to your Roth IRA. And how do those grow?
The difference is you cannot be actively involved in that company though, correct?
Yes, you cannot be a like over 10% owner. You can't have like the decision-making power, etc. So that's where when you're doing those structures,
when you say you can't have more than 10% ownership, your IRA could, right?
Yeah.
But you personally cannot have more than 10% in your personal name as well.
Yeah, if you're one of the key people.
Yes.
Like if you're one of the decision makers, yes. Can you?
But it can't fully rely on you in your decision making, right? Like if you're a minority partner working in the business, then
correct.
And you're less than 10%, then you could still invest through your self-directed account.
Possibly. Yeah. So you just have to really be careful with the structure because it overlaps two parts of the tax code. Is why I always say, like, get with an attorney when you're doing that.
I think they have Peter Thiel's net worth at like $3 billion. His Roth account's $5 billion on its own.
Well, so that's what I was saying. Like, it's worth the freaking conversation.
It's insane.
Right?
It's insane what he's done. Yeah.
The conversation. Even some of these, like, think of guys, like even some of these like technology startups and things of that nature, when you can get in at its very infancy or when it's at like the safe agreement stage and own a portion of that, or have your kids' accounts own a portion of that. I call it like the over the moon example, right?
It is.
Like if this goes over the moon, holy cow, it will be a life changer, and those opportunities exist, especially in, the world that we're in now with AI, with AI, et cetera. Like everything is changing so fast. I feel like it's a full-time job just to keep up with it.
Yeah.
But those opportunities.
There's real businesses making a lot of money in AI stuff right now. Not like, hoping in order to make extra money in the future, like a lot of the tech companies over the past 20 years. These are companies bringing in real revenue right out of the gate that have these massive valuations and have the potential to invest in. So
yeah.
Stay in the circles, right? Like find those opportunities.
Absolutely. And the one other thing too, I'll throw out there, this is one I don't hear about a lot, but I'll throw it out there because it does exist. It's called the 50% rule. Did you ever hear about this one?
No.
Okay. So say you have a company and it's your dad and your two uncles own it, and you want to lend to that company for, funding their deals. Okay. Could you lend to that company?
I don't know.
Yeah, because the combination of disqualified owners is under 50%. At the 50% rule. And that's
so if your brother owns 51%, your dad owns 49%, you can still lend to it because it's not your brother's not a prohibited person to partner with.
Correct. Technically, yes. So I'll leave on that, like that nugget. These are just the creative strategies that we like to go over. But for the small business plan, guys, don't cut yourself off at the knees. There's still time for last year. So if you think like, hey, you had the champagne problem, you crushed it. What am I going to do now? Well, this is a reaction, a reactive solution, but it can also be a proactive solution for the following year, not just from contributions, but from investing.
Guys, go and connect with Amanda, schedule a phone call, go have her look at your entire account. It doesn't cost anything for that to happen. And then if she can find ways in order to help you have tax deferred and or tax-free money from the existing accounts that you already have and the situation that she can help you put in place, we're talking about life-changing financial decisions here. So make sure you connect with Amanda. Amanda, where's the best place for them to reach out to you?
www.specializedtrustcompany.com. Calendar's up here. It's down in the show notes. Holbrook@irastc.com. And I hope to talk to you guys soon. Thank you again, Tim and the team. And all right, have fun out there in YouTube land.
Appreciate you. Thanks for everything, Amanda. And
Right back
if you guys
at ya.
haven't watched all the episodes, past 3 weeks, we've dropped episodes about all these different self-directed accounts. Make sure you plug in, check them all out. We'll share the links right here. And we'll see you guys next week on the Legacy Podcast. Appreciate y'all.
Bye.